Take that, Nemi Screamies!
Before we begin this video, we humbly request that you leave all jokes about J.K. Rowling at the entrance. You may pick them up when the video is finished. We thank you for your cooperation.
Alright, what is this? The Mystical Adventures of Billy Owens was a 2008 film directed by Mark McNabb and distributed by MTI Home Video. If it's known at all around the internet, it's for one of two things. A, being terrible, or B, having a few borderline plagiaristic similarities to the Harry Potter franchise. Now, there's been some coverage of this movie around the internet already. In fact, I myself found it from watching an episode of Good, Bad, or Bad Bad. I figured it'd at least be fun to throw my hat into the ring and cover it myself. I actually haven't watched Papa Meat's video on this movie yet, so if I hit any of the same points he does, that's a coincidence. I really don't want to prolong the intro because there's no better way to understand what this movie is than to just see it, so without further ado, I guess. Thurgood, played by Rowdy Roddy Piper, and Victor Mold, played by Paul Germ. You'll see pretty soon, but Rowdy Roddy Piper is pretty much the only name in this film. All of the other actors haven't been in much outside of this film. In fact, most of them haven't been in anything outside of this, and a couple of other Mark McNabb directed fever dreams. This looks like frickin' Timon and Pumbaa's virtual safari. The two friends bicker as to whether or not they should continue down the trail.
We can't! You saw it on the map! Our destiny is etched in this map! My map! And I won't turn back!
Sir, that is a face cloth. And then this thing shows up, looking like a Roblox creation, and I think it kills Victor?
Victor, the creature! The creature!
The Mises.
Victor! No!
Then we're treated to this opening credit sequence that looks like a computer screensaver. It's just the one animation looping over and over again. Oh, okay, I guess we're in the movie now. Now here's a weird thing. Throughout the film, we're given first-person narration from the perspective of one of the characters.
That's me and my other friend, Devin. And this is our story.
But despite being first-person, it's told as if it's in third-person, being able to comment on how other characters are feeling, and having access to information that the characters should not have yet.
Billy felt pretty strange inside. It was an odd new feeling, one he couldn't really describe, and one that made him feel very uncomfortable.
Here we meet Billy Owens, who's turning 11 years old on November 11th.
Billy was born on November 11th, so maybe turning 11 on the 11th day of the 11th month was just too many 11s for anyone to handle.
Should have set this movie 4 years in the future, so that Billy would turn 11 on 11/11/2011. Billy goes to his mom's place of work to tell her that he hasn't been feeling that great. His mom assures him that it's just nerves and drives him to school. Feel like we could have had the conversation about not feeling great while driving to school and not had this part in the store. It's at school where we meet Billy's two best friends, Devin and Mandy. Devin is the comic relief friend who's clumsy and a little cowardly. Mandy is the smart friend who is a bit of a teacher's pet. The way that they portray that Mandy is smart is by having her just randomly say facts that only vaguely pertain to whatever's happening in the moment.
Did you know that baby snakes are often more dangerous than their parents? While adults carefully ration out their venom, a baby snake lacks self-control and will release a much higher dose of venom in its bite.
Because they seriously could not find any other way to portray that a character is smart.
Hey!
The f*** was that? Dude just runs up and punches his friend. Oh yeah, Victor Mold, from the intro, he's still alive. The way the film shows this to you is by having this shot where the kids walk down the hall, and then just randomly cutting to this shot of him standing there for 17 seconds. Feel like we could have shortened that one a little bit. Also, my brother says that when he has his glasses on, he looks like Doug Walker. I kind of see it a little bit, but I don't know.
November 11th, what a fantastic day to turn 11, Mr. Owens.
Someone turning 11?
Mr. Mold, did you know that the chances of being born at the stroke of 11 on the 11th of November are 137 million to 1?
Actually, if you factor in the leap year continuum, I believe it's 143 million to 1, Miss Finn.
Wow! Bye.
No, okay, no, don't look at him like that after what you just said. Billy and the school bully, Kurt Nemes, end up getting into a fight. Where they start chasing each other around. Bro, what is this? It's like that scene in Shark Boy and Lava Girl. The chase goes on for a while as it looks like Kurt is literally trying to run Billy out of town. Freaking Blue's Clues chase scene over here. Billy manages to parkour his way across town and find this old antique shop where he hides out from Kurt. But just when he thinks that he's alone in here, besides the cameraman, he runs into the store's owner.
I trust that you're finding everything you need.
Somehow deciding that staying around this guy is safer than staying around Kurt, Billy hangs around the pawn shop until he manages to find a wand, which he decides to buy.
Well, normally that would be $15, but we have a 30% discount today, and I took my 15 there and my 30% birthday discount, and I'd bring that down to one there, that'd be $11.
Figures.
And now, sometimes you can find magic in your pockets.
Okay, so here's a problem with the film that you might have noticed. It's impossible to understand what the characters are saying half the time, probably on account of the fact that the camera quality sucks. As we'll see later, the plot of this movie is already hard enough to follow, so it'd be really nice if we could actually hear what the characters are saying.
Average heart rate of an 11-year-old is 95 beats per minute. Whoa, mine must be twice that. Overachiever.
Alright, I'll admit, I found that kind of funny.
Mandy.
No, come on. There's also a cat in the pawn shop. It never does anything of importance, and it only ever appears in one other scene, so I'm not entirely sure why it's here. Probably just to rip off Harry Potter.
Magic, my boy, now. Time waits for no man. Or birthdays. You got chocolate cake and icing waiting for you. My goodness, ice cream. Go get it.
Okay, bye. See you.
All right. Well,
They bring up having deja vu a couple of times throughout the film. Billy talks about how he feels like he's been to Thurgood's shop before.
This place is familiar. Feels like I've been here before.
Deja vu?
I don't think this is ever meaningfully paid off in the movie, outside of the very vague idea that it was Billy's destiny to find the store. Cut to Billy's house later that night. He and Devin start messing around with the magic wand, only to discover that it actually is magic. Whoa!
Take that, Nemi Squeamies! Whoa. Don't shoot!
Magic wand. Boring, am I right?
William Thurston Owens III.
I swear to God I had to play that back like 8 times before I actually understood what she was saying there. Something else might have happened in this scene, but I was too distracted by the fact that there was a Stewie Griffin toy on the shelf to actually care. I was literally doing the meme of watching Family Guy during something boring. Oh yeah, it's also in this scene that we meet this here, soulless husk of what once may have been a real human being. I don't think I've ever seen an actor in a movie who looks less like they want to be a part of it, outside of maybe a Neil Breen movie. See this little bit of joy and life on his face? I hope you did, because it never comes back.
That's the only way to the river. The real river. Vandals ruined river project. Looks like trouble. All I know is the key, well, it's the key.
I mean, I can't exactly blame the actor for being disinterested. I'm just pointing it out because I find it funny. Although maybe I shouldn't be talking. I have a pretty monotone voice myself.
We'll talk about this later. Hurry up, here she comes.
hurry up, here she comes.
I know everyone else talks about this, but why do they put a lit birthday cake on someone's bed? Could they not just shoot this part in the dining room? The next morning, the kids decide that they need to get back to the pawn shop and talk to Thurgood again, which I'm pretty sure is the first time anyone has ever felt that way about him.
Mr. Owens. Mr. Owens.
Huh. That sounds like a demon come to reap my soul. Little do they know I don't have one.
Vandals ruined river project. Looks like trouble.
But it wasn't vandals. It was the river taking over. The river project was in trouble. The people of Spirit River had no idea of the danger lurking beneath its waters. Because if the crews kept digging, they just might find something.
I'm sure we can all agree that that makes sense, and requires no further explanation, so I'll just move on.
Well, let's see what you got. Abracadabra! Alakazam! Please!
Alright, that was kinda cute. You know, the magic word, please.
Magic word really is please.
Oh, so you're just gonna explain the joke? Alright, I'll take that compliment back then. The wand's built-in radar leads the kids to the back of the shop, where they finally find the lost episode of SpongeBob.
What's the map?
The map.
Where? What do you do? Whoa.
What do you mean, whoa? You just opened it yourself.
We were in awe as Thurgood told us about his quest and how Billy and his ancestors were connected to Spirit River, all within such an incredible legacy of magic and danger.
Well, Thurgood may have told the kids about his quest, but the movie never tells us about it. Not directly, anyway. We can infer from the scene that it was when he and Victor followed the map to whatever it would lead them to, but the finer details of why he even went on this quest in the first place, or if he learned anything of importance on this quest, are just straight up never told. And now, in the present, Billy says that he only has half of the treasure map.
I can't even protect myself from Kurt and Amy's. How am I supposed to find a treasure with half a map and a bicycle?
So, is it the same map that Victor had at the beginning of the movie? And if so, what happened to the other half of it? And if the point is that they're missing important information, then shouldn't we, the audience, see what information they do have? Especially because in a mystery story, it's vitally important for the audience to have the same amount of information as the characters do. For how much importance is put on this map, we never actually get to see what's on it. Probably because if we looked at it for any amount of time, we'd see how obvious it is that it's just a baby blanket. And it's not until later into the film that we're warned of any approaching threats. Right now, all we have is the vague idea that there's something in the water. Are you sure it's not lead? Now, despite the fact that Billy already knows summon tennis ball and throw voice, he's still got a lot to learn. I mean, take it from me, those spells do get a lot less useful once you learn small beanbag and remember password. Regardless, this leads into a training montage where the four characters stand in front of what I think is a green screen, and Thurgood writes the word codex. Okay, but what do you mean by that? Then he writes the word scriptoria. Okay, but what do you mean by... Interspersed throughout are scenes where the kids learn the really important spells, like Big Nose and... Magic Barrier. Okay, that one's at least actually useful. The kids somehow determine from Thurgood's schizophrenic ramblings that they need to go to a library and find an ancient codex. Why he couldn't have just told the kids to do that instead of writing the word on the wall and calling it a day is far beyond me. On the way to the library, the kids run into Kurt.
Who else, lame brain? I got stuck helping my snotty little sisters because you three geeks.
Just ignore him.
Monday's gonna be the most painful day of your life. Where do you think you're going, Squid?
I'm with her. Billy!
Your girlfriend's calling you.
Billy, now!
Yo, it's Paul Blart. This guy seems to have stepped out of a completely different movie, because while everyone else in the film acts normal, for the most part, this guy pantomimes the ever-loving out of every single movement of his body. The kids conclude that if they want to get the information they need, they're gonna need to sneak into a section of the library that's cut off to younger kids. Anyway, the heritage section of the library is dark. Fortunately, there are just some flashlights laying on a nearby table as soon as they enter the room. Couldn't they have just brought their own flashlights? Or even used the wand to light up the room? They probably didn't know how to make it look like the wand was emitting light. Could have had him turn the wand into a flashlight. Then the narration comes back, probably because they realize that they should actually give some context as to what's going on.
And the Codex is a collection of the oldest manuscripts, maps, and documents ever found about Spirit River. Hidden within its pages of ancient alphabet and symbols is a story about Loki, a malicious Viking god. It is told that to protect his ill-gotten treasure and his scepter, the source of his terrible powers, he charged the original Spirit River with evil, imprisoned a dragon as its guard, and then sealed the river underground, away from all humans. We had to find the secret passage.
How does one charge something with evil? Whatever, the kids sneak around the library, avoiding the tenuously watchful eyes of Rawl Shart until they finally find what it is that they're looking for, or not. Every shot with the security guard guy looks like a repeat of a previous shot. It's like he gave them multiple takes, but they ended up using all of them just to pad out the movie. Our Scooby gang finds the book that they were looking for, and Billy uses his wand to siphon its brainwaves, I guess. This, for some reason, shows him a video of Thurgood and Mold arguing.
The map, William. Give me the map. You give it to me or I'll...
So wait, That was Victor's map that they had earlier? You mean to tell me this Nimrod was going to ride a rowboat into a storm in order to find some treasure and he only had half the map for it? And it cuts back to the kids for like 1 second and then immediately cuts back to the fight. No doubt to bridge some kind of gap in the editing.
You will not succeed, Victor. Your soul was lost in the river!
Thurgood thought he had to train Billy to fight this guy, but the only spell he seems to know is Slightly Forceful Gust of Wind.
Anyone.
Billy reacts to seeing this as if it's a live feed, and they need to go down to the pawn shop to help Thurgood right now. But no, it has to be a flashback because the kids run out of the room and then immediately run into Mold. Kurt Nemes and Mr. Mold are now a team, just go with it. Oh yeah, the scene of the kids sneaking around the library after hours also ends with the bully and the suspicious teacher catching them and getting them in trouble.
You are so busted.
Here, though, it doesn't make any sense because it's not a school library, it's a public library that's closed, so these guys shouldn't be here either.
Mr. Owens, does the term master number mean anything to you?
A master number is a super number that predicts a change coming.
Genuinely, what relevance does that hold to this situation? They bring up the number 11 a couple of times throughout the movie, like back at the beginning with the narration.
The number 11 is a master number. It has great significance. In fact, it has more potential than any other number.
It makes it seem like Billy getting his powers has something to do with the number 11, but then almost every important character in the movie can use magic at a certain point, so what's the point of this whole number motif?
Professor, the codex is gone.
Yeah. How? How does this little amateur stay one step ahead of us?
I can think of a couple of reasons. The kids also don't end up going back to Thurgood like they said they were going to. Like, at least report back to him that you found the important item he told you to go get.
So, what are we gonna do about Kurt?
I don't know. You got any suggestions?
Well, I was thinking we could all stick together and make it to the pawn shop.
Yeah, like, sure, that's all we have to do is outrun him.
But what if he follows us with his cronies?
I don't know. That's when we have to run as fast as we can, I guess.
Yeah.
Mark, give this kid a line, for the love of God, he is practically sweating. We then just randomly cut to this shot of a bell that has a vine wrapped around it. Rest assured, there is context for what this means in a previous shot. Well, you didn't see it? It's right there. No sound effect, no music cue to imply that anything bad has happened, and it looks like the camera is actively trying to focus away from it. Probably because the effect is so bad. It looks like something out of an old coloring book game that I would play with as a child. Hey, anyone here have Disney Magic Artist as a kid? All I can tell you about this situation is that Mold is very happy about it.
Are the vines dangerous? Are they poisonous?
Yeah, what if they are poisonous?
Mother Nature has a knack of getting her way. Hopefully the plight of the river has gotten your attention.
You could not make it sound more like you're behind this and that it's some kind of environmental terrorism thing. Gym class! Honestly, same here. Devin tries to climb this rope, but falls down, so this girl comes up to try and show him how it's done. She gets 2 steps up, the camera cuts back to Devin to try and hide the fact that she can't actually climb to the top of the rope. Then the camera cuts back to her in the exact same position, very obvious that she didn't climb up to the top of the rope. Kurt shows up to chase Billy around. Again. Yeah, doing a bang-up job as the authority figure right there. You notice that he's clearly about to land on his back, but then it cuts to him landing on his hands and feet. Makes me wonder if he got injured doing that. I really hope not. A kid getting injured is not worth it for this crap. Luckily for Billy, he has the magic wand to help him get away this time. He gets a little bit of soot on Kurt's face. He knocks over a bucket of water, which almost doesn't end up doing anything, and then finally decides that using the magic barrier to get away from someone who's chasing you is a smart idea. Billy enters into the boss arena and is cornered by Mold.
Do you have any idea what you've done?
Professor!
Oh, silence! The Hunter's Moon is tomorrow. Where is this? I will get that map.
I don't have it! Please let me go!
Don't worry, I'll let you go. As soon as I create my own map.
You gotta find someone in life who will love you as much as this Joker loves his f***ing map. Mold starts using a magic spell to, I think, make a copy of the map with Billy's memories, even though it was his map, so he should already at least have some of it committed to memory. In fact, if he knows what the map looks like, could he not just use the spell on his own mind to create a copy? Yeah, okay, sure, whatever.
Victor, that will be quite enough.
Maybe don't have this guy working for you if you know that he's evil.
Gwendolyn. You might be wise to stay out of this.
Rubbish. You have no real power here.
Wrong. I have the power of positive thinking. True, it doesn't really help me in this instance. You know, I'm just gonna use my bus pass.
Destiny works both ways, Victor. Now be gone before I handle you myself.
He's literally in the process of assaulting one of the students right now. Do something more about it than just talking to him a little bit sternly. But then again, maybe that is all that's required, because once he's told to go away, he just does. I joked earlier about the spells being lame, but this guy's such a chump that Billy probably could defeat him just by throwing a tennis ball at him.
As the hunter's moon approaches, the evil from below sends mysterious vines to take hold of the town.
Ah, so that's what they are. Maybe you should have actually explained that when you first showed them instead of just holding on one and then waiting for only one scene to go by before you tell us anything. Then we get the scene where the principal tries to sneak into a police-restricted area, but then is told to go away, so she does.
Ma'am, you can't be in here. This is a restricted site. Okay? You're gonna have to ask you to leave. Okay?
What was the point of that? Also, very interesting creative decision to have a character be stopped by not being allowed to enter a building, not even 5 minutes after showing that she can walk through walls.
I'm gonna be busy, rebuilding the Avery.
What is the Avery?
The hunter's moon happens only when the position of the Earth and the moon coincide exactly at a particular point in the Earth's elliptical orbit around the sun. It is written that as Hunter's Moon approaches, the path of the old Spirit River below changes and matches the path of the new Spirit River above, allowing evil to cross over and affect our world. And if a second Hunter's Moon should ever happen within the same century, like this one, the old Spirit River will physically join our new Spirit River, not only releasing the evil into our water, killing the river, but also freeing the dragon on a rampage of destruction. Did I mention that if the dragon isn't slain before it reaches our world, it never can be? No? Well, that's important.
You guys got all that? The kids get back to Billy's place, trying to make sense of everything that's happened the past couple of days.
Do you think Mold knows about the pawn shop?
Can we get this kid some cold medicine or something? They determine that they have to find a key to the map.
The key to the map. That's it!
What's it?
Kids speak, Mom.
No, but seriously, what is it? This is the first time we're hearing about a map key. Again, maybe if they could actually show us what the map looked like, it would make a little bit more sense. Then everyone looks out the window and sees a pillar of flames rising in the distance. I feel like I'm saying "and then" a lot, but that's just kind of how this movie is.
So we ran out, jumped onto our bikes, and pedaled as fast as we could to the pawn shop.
Kid, at that distance, you are not making it back to that shop before it burns down.
Billy kept going to see if there was anything he could do. We hoped you wouldn't get there too late.
Billy finds Thurgood laying on the floor of the shop. Isn't this guy a wizard? Is there nothing a wizard could do to stop a burning building?
Mr. Thurgood!
Billy, key.
That's how Billy finds the key to the map, by the way. It was a literal key. Billy and Thurgood get out of there in time, and then the movie cuts to what I swear to God is the same shot of Billy riding his bike from the first part of the movie. Then Billy does a grayscale flashback to something that was actually on screen 10 seconds ago.
What is this movie?
Meanwhile, back at the Hall of Owens, the gang try to put together the information they have. Again, feels like you could have just cut the scene with the newscast out and had them show up to the pawn shop while it was on fire. The only real information of any importance, if you could call it that, is that there's an invisible door to the real Spirit River, and Billy is the only one who can use the key to get to it. Does that make sense to you? It does not matter if that makes sense to you.
Did you know that friendship is the strongest bond between two friends?
The kids are also told to go to a place, by the way, Billy's mom can do magic, to go to a place called the Phoenix.
Go to the Phoenix.
The kids end up going back to Thurgood's pawn shop, but the narration talks about how it has phoenix powers because it rose from the ashes.
Phoenix was a mythical bird, which, as legend has it, would rise from the ashes of its predecessor. It seemed like Thurgood's shop just may have that same ability.
So is the pawn shop supposed to be the Phoenix? Because that's not the name of the pawn shop. We've seen the shop's name multiple times, primarily when Billy first found it.
Winston!
Did the cat get away from the fire and come back, or does it also have phoenix powers, meaning that it just burned alive and then popped back up like Wario?
The legacy of Spirit River is the same legacy of the very people that brought you to the Phoenix. Come. In the beginning was Spirit River. The magical keepers knew this night would come.
You know, I think I just realized a big reason as to why this movie is so confusing. Half the time characters just say things that sound vaguely mystical, but then nobody ever explains any part of it, so it's not whimsical, it's frustrating. The kids teleport into some snowy woods in search of something called the Guardian.
Follow the Guardian. He holds the secret to your dreams of gold and immortality. A quest for heroes who dare enter his master's lair. Oh, brother.
Is that a Warcraft orc? What the hell is going on right now?
I'm here to warn you.
And they aren't even trying to hide the fact that that's just a Halloween mask. The orc tells the kids how they can save Spirit River, and it involves infiltrating something called the Nemesis lair.
Is it your lair?
It's Nemesius's.
Now, you might be thinking Nemesis, like the bully kid? Since when did he have an evil lair? But I think the Nemesis is supposed to be the dragon from the beginning of the movie. At the end of that sequence, you can barely make out the sound of Mold saying the name Nemesis as the dragon approaches.
The creature!
Nemesis. Nemesis. Nemesis.
Emphasis on barely. The orc tells the kids how to find the lair, only for the bad guys to show up. So I guess the orc was working for the bad guys, but still decided to help the heroes? Oh, you know what it is? It's like how Dobby was a slave to the bad guys, but still wanted to help the heroes. I mean, Devin literally calls it an elf.
Except for the elf.
Come on now. So then these 3 school children managed to somehow outrun this fully grown man. Well, it's probably because he couldn't actually get the let out to chase them and just kind of stood there.
Sorry, jeez, I'm sorry.
The Altar of Destiny is a portal to nights for
Can you please speak up? If this is important information, then we should actually be able to hear it, right? So this random tree stump in the forest that the kids just so happen to sit down next to happens to be the Altar of Destiny. That's the thing they were just reading about in the book. As the orc told them to, the kids put their books into the altar. This opens this portal thing, which then Billy uses the key on, and it opens something in a completely different area. It's like a video game. You know what else I noticed about this movie? It would have been so much more coherent and easy to follow if we learned early on about the Altar of Destiny and how we needed the codex in order to find it. And it would have given the characters some actual direction, something to work towards instead of just the vague idea of save the river. You could even have that Harry Potter mystery element by having the characters need to search for the key to the map. And that could make the fact that it's a literal key a fun little plot twist. Instead, they find the codex halfway through the movie and we just don't know why it's important or why they needed to do that until now. We need to find a key to this map. Oh, there it is. We need to find the Altar of Destiny. Oh, there it is. That's not how you write a movie. Oh, also, the whole time while the kids are opening the portal, Mold and Kurt, which when said together like that makes it sound like either a rock band or a very old town, just kind of watch them do that, even as Billy hesitates.
They got away!
Ah, Mr. Nemes. You just can't see the forest for the trees. Our little heroes, they're doing all the work for us.
Okay, Billy may be the only one who's able to use the key, but now that the door is open, you don't need him anymore. It's just a loose end you're leaving untied. The kids teleport back to Thurgood's pawn shop. Did Thurgood just so happen to send them next to the Altar of Destiny, or did they need this book in order to get to it? Either way, how did Mold get there? The gang take a boat to the cave where they'll supposedly find the treasure, Loki's scepter, and the dragon. It looks like the same river path from the beginning of the movie, which would mean that Mold found where the treasure was hidden, then forgot and needed to look at the map again. But honestly, at this point, that tracks for him. Wait, how did he manage to get away from the dragon in the first place? I think they literally never explain that.
It was also during editing that I realized the whole plot of an ancient town that contains both great treasure and a great evil, that got sealed underground behind a magic door, and a new town was built on top of it, is almost the same exact story as Rogueport in Paper Mario. They even imprisoned a dragon to guard the treasure there, too.
The kids find this lantern on the floor of the cave, which not only still works, but is still in perfect condition, which implies that someone has been here recently. Kind of ruins the sense of mysticism, but okay. The kids find this skeleton, which is holding what I think is implied to be Loki's scepter. It's just sitting there at the entrance to the cave. They didn't even need to go that far in to find it. Any random schmuck could just stumble upon it. Then they just toss it on the floor, and it's ignored for the rest of the movie. The main MacGuffin that's been built up this whole time, and it's literally not even important to the climax. So is this supposed to maybe be the skeleton of Loki? Well, no, it's just a random Viking skeleton. Devin does pull a sword off of its back, so,
I don't think anybody's made it this far.
There's literally human bones on the ground.
Mandy? Mandy?
That shot was supposed to be Mandy falling down a pit. Naturally, the best thing to do if your friend falls down a dark pit in an unexplored cave is to jump down there with them. Alright, this scene threw me for a bit of a loop. In the pit there are these panels with names written on them, and the kids need to pair them up in order to open an entrance.
What do they mean?
Well, see, they come in pairs, and then those pairs link to other pairs.
Like a puzzle?
Yes! One that will open the door! I know it!
So what do the kids decide they need to do? Pair up Fafnir and Frisia because both of their names start with the letter F.
Let's see. Fafnir. Frisia! Of course, they both have F's.
Now when they do that, the walls start closing in.
Oh no! What'd I do?
Now, you might think that's because it was actually the wrong answer, especially because the answer was suggested by the kinda sorta de facto dumb character. But no, evidently that was the right answer, they just needed to use the wand to tap the panels.
Use the wand, Billy! It's the only way to connect the names! That's it! Now touch Sigurd, you're almost there! Come on, guys, it's the door!
I went to do some research to see if there was any actual connection between Fafnir and Frisia. Not a ton, mind you, so I don't know how true what I'm about to say is. Fafnir was not a Norse god like I expected, but rather he was a dwarf that had transformed himself into a dragon. He'd let his greed get the better of him, committing atrocities in order to protect a treasure he'd received from Loki. Kinda like what the bad guy of this movie wants to do. In his dragon form, he'd eventually be killed by a hero named Sigurd.
That's it! Now touch Sigurd, you're almost there!
In a series of underground pits. And all the parallels between this story and what's happening in the movie made me think for a second that the writers actually did a good bit of research on this stuff. But then all of that falls apart because as far as I'm aware, Frisia has nothing to do with any of this, and the only connection between her and Fafnir is, again, both of their names start with the letter F. And that makes me wonder if they actually did do any research on this topic, or if they just looked up a list of important names in Norse mythology and called it a day. You guys almost had something. You almost made a cool scene, and then you just gave up at the last hurdle. Someone in the comments who knows more about Norse mythology, tell me if I'm right or wrong, because if I'm wrong, I'll just cut this whole segment out of the video. Anyway, the kids make it further into the cave. Then the skeleton from earlier rises up to fight them. Even though he was back at the entrance and they're deeper in the cave and he's here now. You know what? I don't care. I'm out of here. I genuinely do not care anymore. I'm out. Continue. Even with all of his training, Billy is still not powerful enough to defeat the skeleton. You don't say. Devin finally gets his hero moment by defeating the skeleton with his sword. Ah, so it's the wimpy guy killing a monster with his ancient sword. He hits it one time and then it explodes into a burst of light like a video game enemy.
We've gone as far as we can. So now it's time.
Time for what?
To be heroes. That's a dragon.
Yeah.
Or a medium-sized cat.
So it's time to hide.
Children, don't you know it's way past your bedtime? And you have school tomorrow.
Yes, that is the first time that mold appears in this scene, thank you for asking. If these 11-year-old kids had to crawl their way through the cave to get through it, then how the hell did this guy get here? Don't tell me he could just magic his way through the cave, because if he could do that, then he should just be able to get in, get what he needs, and leave.
Just give me the scepter. We can call it a day.
Shh! Why don't you go fix Spirit River? Yeah, and feed your pet dragon while you're at it.
They brought it up earlier in the film, but the kids keep acting like Mold is responsible for the vines and the dragon.
Why, Professor? Why are you killing Spirit River?
But the narration said that it was because of the hunter's moon, so unless this guy was moving the moon around, I don't think that's actually applicable.
Give me the scepter, boy!
Come and take it from us.
Go! But you have to kill it, Billy, before it kills Spirit River.
The final battle commences between our heroes and the dragon. It's approximately 30 seconds long, and for most of it, Billy doesn't look like he has control of his arms.
He's too strong.
Mandy! Can't hold him back!
Billy, hold on.
Class dismissed.
Also, yeah, Mold is just gone. That last shot with the rocks was the last we see of him in this movie. I think some people have said that Mold turns into the dragon in order to fight the kids, and I think the movie actually does imply that.
And feed your pet dragon while you're at it.
Didn't Thurgood teach you anything other than how to hide behind a rock?
Plus, it would actually be another connection to Fafnir, but also it can't be right because Mold and the dragon have been separate characters since the beginning of the movie, and even the narration says the dragon is actually put there by Loki.
Imprisoned a dragon as its guard.
They just forgot to resolve the main villain's plotline.
The sun rose the next day on a happy and healthy Spirit River. There was no hero's parade for Billy. After all, who would have believed our story of magic and dragons anyway?
Well, I don't know about that. I mean, your friend is a wizard, his mom is a wizard, your history teacher's a wizard, your school principal's a wizard, the creepy old man who lives in a pawn shop is a wizard. There's probably wizards all over Canada. Are there any other wizards we should know about?
Three musketeers have arrived. Good morning. There's an air of promise in the air. Can you feel it?
Was this movie written by a human being? Anyway, this painfully awkward meetup concludes with the characters finding another map. To what I don't know, and I assume you don't care. After this scene is where we get that little sequel tease with Kurt. Yeah, apparently during that last part of the movie he was in the cave with everyone, it's just that no one noticed him. Also, his family didn't immediately panic when he went out into the woods with a creepy old man in the middle of the night, and never came back the next morning. And it's all over except for the credits. And the blooper reel.
Just ignore him.
You started it, Squeamies.
Yeah, I'm gonna finish it. Monday's gonna be the most painful day of your life.
I will say this, during the blooper reel the actors seem to have better chemistry and are a lot livelier than they are in the actual movie.
We've gone as far as we can, so now it's time.
Time for what?
To be heroes.
It's also during the credits that I saw that the voiceover dialogue and the actual script were written by two completely different people. That would explain a few things. This film had 3 story writers. Oh yeah, and the credit sequence is just the same animation as the opening of the film. Well, that certainly was a thing that I just watched. But what else can be said about the movie at this point? You know what? I will start by saying some nice things. The idea of a Harry Potter-esque story that ties its magic system into Norse mythology is kinda cool. Opens up the opportunity to teach kids about other cultures. The film doesn't do that, not well anyway, but I'll commend the attempt. And there did seem to be some ambition here. According to the credits, they shot on location in a couple different spots around Ontario. Now, I don't know how impressive that is, considering I've never been to Canada, but what I'm saying is that this movie could have been lazier. Who knows, maybe with a real budget they could have actually tried to make something interesting. And that's not something I ever thought I'd say about a crappy mockbuster movie. Don't get it twisted though, the movie is still terrible. The camera quality is trash, the acting ranges from passable to non-human, the effects are dirt cheap, the story is borderline incomprehensible, the dialogue all feels like it was made up on the spot, the main villain just disappears from the film without any explanation, and the whole film is permeated by this air of cheapness. That being said, I came away from this movie not completely hating it with every fiber of my being. Dare I say, this movie is so bad that it's good, but boy, will it ever put you through the frickin' ringer. Well, that's the end of that. Boy, am I glad they never followed up on that sequel hook and that there's no sequel for me to potentially talk about someday.